Good morning, good morning. Happy Wednesday, happy Wellness Wednesday. Coming at you live from Tampa International Airport. So today is a travel edition. All right, so I'm holding my phone. I don't have a tripod, so bear with me if I'm a little shaky or I move a lot. That's how I am in real life, so I apologize ahead of time. I'm a little early today, and we're going to have some voices in the background while they make announcements. But I definitely wanted to get on here before we start boarding because we are going to be boarding for Colorado Springs in about 30 minutes. So when I went to Salt Lake City, good morning, Danielle. When I went to Salt Lake City, I did some travel tips, and I hope you can hear me. And today we're going to do the same with some new things and a couple of things we learned from the last one. So if you're just stumbling on my page, my name is Donna Bidlack. I am a mom, a nana, a girlfriend, a wellness advocate, a part-time program director for NAMI Citrus, a best-selling author, a personal trainer, and I'm going to grad school starting October 9th. So I'm super excited. Lots of things going on. I started Wellness Wednesday because I have been on a lifetime journey with anxiety and depression and wanted to share the things that have worked for me and know that by doing things like this, we can share with each other and maybe we can all pick up some awesome tips along the way. And it would be great if they couldn't have picked now to make all of their announcements instead of one every 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, so once again, we went to Salt Lake City a few weeks ago. I did a travel edition 1. Learned some new things, learned some things from that trip. Some of these you may know, some of these you may have never heard, but it never hurts to review, right? So this one's going to be a little quicker than usual because we're waiting to board. All right, so here we go. What we learned from our last trip. I forgot to mention it in my last video, and I did mention it in the comments. TSA pre-check is a lifesaver, especially if you are carrying any kind of electronics. I did learn today that boots with any kind of metal hardware mean you still have to take them off even in TSA pre-check, but it's like $80 and it covers you for like 4 years or something like that. Totally worth it if you're planning on traveling even once a year, in my opinion. It just makes things quicker and easier. AAA and AARP, I don't want to talk about AARP right now because they email me all the time because, you know, I'm closing in on 50 and they want me. But AAA has saved me a ton of money on hotel bookings because sometimes the AAA rate directly from the hotel's website is cheaper than any of the travel companies that you can use out there. So keep that in mind. Also, never underestimate the lines. The last time we traveled to Salt Lake City, it was before the you-know-what of dawn, and it was on a Tuesday, so we figured nobody was going to be there, and the line to check our baggage was stupid. So thank God we had TSA pre-check, and we still had a little bit of time before we had to board. All right, liquids and pressure. So I had mentioned in the last video not to forget your sunscreen. However, when everything goes in the belly of the plane, which is where you have to put any liquids that are over 3 ounces and don't fit in a quart-sized bag, like our sunscreen, like my face pump that I use, that's vitamin C and collagen, those things don't always do so well with the pressure under the belly of the plane. So when we got off, not knowing this, that we needed to maybe loosen the caps and let off a little pressure while the things were upside down, it got a little messy there for a bit when we first tried to use those products. So keep that in mind. And if you have anything that's sealed and has liquid in it, turn it upside down from where it normally comes out. Loosen the cap a little bit, but don't open it all the way to let the pressure out, and you'll find that very, very helpful and a lot less messy. Share meals. We have learned to share meals because we want to try all the things. We want to try appetizers. We have our favorite places to eat or new places we want to try, and we will walk out of there feeling like a slug if we don't share meals instead of ordering 2 separate things. So a lot of times if we want an appetizer, we will order 1 meal to share along with that appetizer, and that makes a huge, huge difference in how we feel and how well we can operate afterwards. Public transit. This was another thing we learned. This was our 3rd time in Salt Lake City, but it was our first time trying the public transit, which was, good morning, Miss Ann, which was the Utah Trax train. And what was really cool is during the Thursday and Friday, or the Friday and Saturday that we were there, they had free passage. So we were able to go a lot of places and see a lot of things using the Utah Tracks train, which was awesome. And even if we had to pay, it was only $5 for the whole day, which was awesome. So definitely check out the public transportation if you're not opposed to it. It's a great way to people watch. It's a great way to see things and get places you're going. And it's a lot cheaper than Uber if you can do it. Also, we found out that Utah Tracks actually, good morning, Miss Erica, goes to the airport. Now, we decided not to take that option instead of Uber because we didn't want to mess with the luggage getting on the train, but totally an option. So especially if you're going to a big city, check out the public transit options, because sometimes there's trolleys for touring, and no flash mob today, Erica. I'm brave. This is my first time going live in a public place like this, for something like for Wellness Wednesday, but not quite brave enough to walk around and talk to people. So I did think about it, though. I did think about doing like a Jesse Waters thing where I was walking around asking people what their definition of wellness was. Okay, so also the last thing that we learned from our last trip is we were exhausted. We did a lot of walking all over the place, riding the Utah Tracks, and in the process we found a Trader Joe's. So there was one particular day that we were really exhausted. We were just tired. We wanted something a little lighter to eat. We found ourselves in Trader Joe's to buy water and maybe some snacks for the room. And we found these really good, very clean, surprisingly clean microwave bowls. And we had a microwave in our hotel room. So we ate dinner for like $10 that night, and it was delicious, and it was fairly clean, and probably better than anything we would have gotten in any restaurant at that point. So it was just a nice little break from eating out of the restaurants or trying to find a place to eat. Nice and light, very healthy. I was incredibly surprised when I read the label at how clean the product was. It was super yummy. They even had packaged forks for us to take with us. So that was a huge bonus. So don't be afraid to look for a grocery store that's in walking distance or in public transportation distance. It's a lot easier to get your hands on bottled water for less money. If you're on a budget, grab some snacks for the hotel room, bananas. And like I said, there's even an option there for lunch or dinner if they have a hot bar. We stumbled on a great place that had an amazing hot bar, but we had already eaten, so we weren't prepared for it. So there's options there too if you're going to be gone longer and you don't want to eat in a restaurant every single meal. So keep that in mind. All right, so new tips for this trip. Colorado is the highest altitude we have been at yet. And in the process of researching for this Wellness Wednesday and for the trip to Colorado, we learned that altitude sickness is a thing. Now, not everybody will suffer from it, but here's some tips for combating altitude sickness if you are going to a higher elevation, especially if you're like us and you're going to an eyelash above sea level to somewhere that's higher. Now, Salt Lake City is definitely higher altitude, but Colorado has even another 2,000 feet on top of that. And then we're also going to visit the top of Pikes Peak via the cog rail on Saturday, which is going to double the altitude. So here's some tips for combating altitude sickness, preventing it, whatever. Number one, hydrate like it's your job. Now, I always talk about hydration when you're traveling or any other time, but in this case, the recommendation is actually to probably drink at least twice what you normally do. It has something to do with dehydration and the way blood moves through your body and the way blood thickens when you're dehydrated. So just like I said last time, carry a water bottle. Once you get past TSA, there's bottle filling stations. You can get a little ice from one of the kiosks, from the people on the plane, the flight attendants, and make sure that you are drinking your water. Number two, easy on the booze and the caffeine, especially for the first 48 hours, because you may find that drinking alcohol packs a little bit more of a punch. And again, alcohol and caffeine have a way of binding to oxygen. And if your oxygen's already moving less because of the higher altitude, it's something to take into consideration. So I'm probably not going to drink the night before we go to Pikes Peak. And it's definitely recommended to take it easy for the first 24 to 48 hours that we are there. So keep that in mind. Number three, exercise is harder at a higher altitude. That's the reason why if the Denver Broncos are hosting at home, they've got the home field advantage in more than one way. So you need, if you're going to work out outside in the higher altitude, you're going to want a longer warm up. You're going to want to make it a less strenuous workout. So I'm probably not going to try to run while we're there, but I might hit the gym in the hotel, or we're going to be doing a lot of walking. And you're going to want a longer cool down as well. You need to know your body and recognize when you're struggling a little more for air or just struggling a little more in general, and take more frequent walk breaks or breaks if depending on what you're doing. The cool thing is our hotel has yoga classes during the week. So I'm definitely thinking about checking one of those out. Avoid heavy foods, especially at the higher altitudes. Their suggestion is to avoid heavier foods and eat more carbs. Carbs are generally recommended against, but they actually help retain water, which keeps you hydrated. And I have no problem retaining water from carbs, usually about 5 pounds a day. So carbs, especially fruit, because antioxidants are actually also something, good morning, Miss Carla, that are recommended for helping to combat altitude sickness. Per Carla, this was a suggestion from Carla, dress like an onion, because it's going to be windy and it's going to be cold, and it might be really nice during the day, but the temperature is going to drop quickly at night. Right now we're looking at projected temps of like 68, 69 for the high and upper 40s for the lows. And when we go to Pikes Peak, it's going to be like 40 at the peak. So dress in layers like an onion, because there's going to be some serious temperature swings. So make sure you have the layers, the base layers, tank tops, compression layers, lightweight long sleeve shirts, sweaters, etc. Things that you can do 2 or 3 layers and peel them off or put them back on as needed. Bring your sunscreen. You still want to bring your sunscreen. Why? Because when you're going at a higher altitude, you have less atmospheric. Listen, I'm looking forward to them, but I'm not going to lie, Erica. I'm a little afraid that I'm going to freeze to death. I'm not going to lie. So, bring your sunscreen, because there's less atmospheric conditions to shield you from the sun. So definitely, since Eric and I are both kind of pale, there he is kind of wandering around over there. We definitely want to make sure we protect our skin. Hi, Eric. We definitely want to make sure we protect our skin while we're there, and not just assume that because it's cold, we're safe, right? But we're also going to open that lid just a little bit and let the pressure off before we try to use it. Okay, so acclimation is really important, which means we don't go from Florida, from 2 feet above sea level, to the top of Pikes Peak on the first day, right? We're saving that for Saturday. It's going to give us time to acclimate to the higher altitude while we're there. Get plenty of rest. Listen, we had to leave the house at like 4:30 this morning. So rest is questionable today, and we're meeting up with some family that lives in Colorado with my Aunt Lois and Uncle Terry after we get landed and get settled into the hotel. So probably not a lot of rest till later tonight. And the time change is a thing. It's the same time zone as when we were in Salt Lake City. So I'm pretty sure by 8 o'clock we are going to be ready to pass out by 8 o'clock Eastern time. So make sure you get plenty of rest, because that helps combat the altitude sickness. Know the symptoms of altitude sickness. That's really important. Know what to expect. I didn't put the list here, but that's definitely something worth looking into. I can post a comment later that gives you the symptoms. Know the symptoms so you can keep an eye on them. Primary is feeling dehydrated, thirsty, headache, fatigue, maybe a little bit of dizziness. It can get more serious than that. It's important, if you're traveling to a higher altitude, that you arm yourself with that knowledge so that you can be proactive if you start to experience any of that. And finally, canned oxygen. It's a thing. I never knew it was a thing until we were in Salt Lake City last year, and we went to Park City, and one of the gift shops had canned oxygen for sale. Now, with that said, I'm not a doctor, and there's a lot of different schools of thought on this. I looked at some peer studies that said there wasn't enough evidence that it did anything other than have a placebo effect. But yet there are tons of people who have used it and swear by it when they're experiencing altitude sickness, starting to feel a little short of breath, whatever. So there's a lot of mixed information, but it doesn't hurt to have it on hand just in case. Like when we go to the cog rail, it might be something worth sticking in our backpack. It can usually be purchased at a local drugstore for not very much money. But it should not, if you're dealing with a serious case of altitude sickness, your first choice should be to find a lower altitude and rest and relax. The canned air should not be your first choice ever. Remember that there is a chance that it may not actually have an effect. It may just have a placebo effect, which sometimes is very powerful. But it can be one of the things that you have in your arsenal to be safe and well when you're at a higher altitude. So that is all I have for today. So real quick, remember, no matter where you're going, what you're doing, beware of your environment when you are traveling. Beware of what's around you. Beware of what's happening. Don't beat yourself up over debauchery. Try to eat healthy to keep your energy levels up. But don't be afraid to take advantage of the local fare and enjoy the time that you have, whether it's with family, friends, whatever the case may be. Enjoy yourself and make awesome memories when you're traveling. And number 4, if you missed the first travel edition that I did in August, comment and I will tag you in that video so that you can watch that too for those tips, because those were more general tips for traveling versus more high altitude oriented tips for this edition. So, wow, 15 minutes. All right, so you guys know the drill. I appreciate you so much. If you see this afterwards, drop me a comment. Let me know you saw it. Blue corn enchiladas. Ooh, thank you, Carla. I don't know what just happened. Somehow my screen just flipped. But there you got a little extra scenery. I don't know what happened there. So I will definitely look for blue corn enchiladas. Those sound delicious. We are going to have so much fun. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, don't hesitate to share. Like I said, drop a comment. If you have questions, let me know you saw it. And on the way here to the airport, I had an epiphany while I was treating Eric to Donna's karaoke time because I was driving, and that's how that usually works. So probably our next 1 to 3 videos are going to be the awesome benefits that music can have on your mental wellness. So I'm really excited about that topic. Stay tuned. I will see you next Wednesday. And as always, thank you so much for being here. If you have a topic you'd like to see me cover, send me a message, drop a comment. We just stay away from negativity and politics. And I'll see you next Wednesday. Have an awesome day and be well. Bye.